Almost immediately when Joe Biden was inaugurated on January 20th, 2021 at noon, Republicans began a concerted effort to paint him as addled and unable to do the job due to the ravages of age upon his brain. Anytime that there was a misstep, they tripped up the stairs at Air Force One, a thing Donald Trump has done even this term multiple times, they painted it as though he was unable to do his job. Now, I have been someone who has been pretty earnest and open about the challenges that faced Joe Biden because of his age. Being the oldest man to ever hold the job as president of the United States. Anybody who's 80 is a little slower, right? But was he unable to do the job? No. Did he absolutely shit the bed on June 27th during the debate with Donald Trump? Yes. It was a terrible debate performance. But just as I'm unable to get the words out right now, sometimes it happens, whether you're 80 or you're 50. And these questions persisted the entire time he was president of the United States. Oddly enough, the media isn't asking the same questions about Donald Trump, who can't even keep his fucking eyes open during meetings with his high-level cabinet officials. Yesterday, during one of these roundtable discussions, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talked and Dr. Oz talked, all of these grifters, all of these charlatans, all of these people who enrich themselves off the backs of people who only want to live a healthier life and who are paranoid about the system and about establishment medicine and traditional medicine and all of this nonsense. Dr. Oz has made millions grifting from his TV shows. RFK has made millions grifting from kickbacks from law firms who sue companies. And while they're talking, Donald Trump, as soon as he gets done talking, begins his, takes a little nap while they talk on camera, unable to keep his eyes open, unable to keep his eyes open. He's not choosing to take a nap. His body is shutting down because he's too old and feeble to keep his eyes open, to stay awake during the day, early in the day. And yet, crickets from the media. Crickets from Jake Tapper, who enriched himself writing a book about the dangers that faced America when Joe Biden was unable to do his job. What are we doing here? Anyway, so here, I'm going to play two clips for you and really focus in on Donald Trump. Don't listen to the words that are being spoken because they're immaterial. It has nothing to do with what we're watching here. Just watch Donald Trump. He's unable to be president of the United States. At the very least, he's unable to participate in policy meetings. But the media, again, nowhere to be found. Watch this, and then we'll move on to him and Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
And the wonderful work of Amy Brandt, who has a fraud war room using this kind of technology, because we'll know who you are and who your doctor is so we can block this. We're going to have remarkable advances in how consumers can use their own records. We'll have beneficiaries be able to get MAHA advice and prevention tips and even be able to nudge them and reward them perhaps for that. And all this comes back to one fundamental issue, Mr. President, which is leadership. I think 60 people, the biggest, the best, the willing, came forward because of your leadership, because you weren't going to take no for an answer, and they know it. We are building a robust and safe, I emphasize that, safe system. It's going to protect the data better than we could have imagined. We're going to be able to accomplish goals that all of us wished from day one that would be in place. These pledges are now confirmed. They're signed in public. You have therefore empowered Americans to own their property, which is their medical records. Let me introduce Amy Gleason. She is acting director of DOGE, U.S. Digital Service as well, and was actually the brilliant woman who pulled together the pieces of this puzzle with so many members of the audience.
You know, something I just noticed rewatching that clip is, you know, Dr. Oz for a long time, he's one of these cowards who can't just be gray. He went gray and had to keep dyeing his hair. He can't just be who he is. He's one of these types. But I've noticed he's let his hair go lighter. Just asking questions. And really, I'm just asking questions. I would love your... Do you think this is because he wants to be perceived as even kind of looking like Trump? You know, these people who all wear the same stupid red tie and blue suit to look like Donald Trump. It's not stupid because it's red and blue. It's stupid because they're imitating the dear leader. It's like a uniform. Is Dr. Oz taking this to the next level with the blondish, grayish piss mop? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him, though. But is this not alarming? For me, it's more alarming. It's not alarming that a nearly 80-year-old man falls asleep during the day and takes little cat naps. It happens. But it's the juxtaposition about how it's being dealt with and talked about in the public with the media. That's the problem. The other problem lies in the fact that Donald Trump is a liar. Republicans are liars because just like I just acknowledged, it's not a big deal if an old man falls asleep for a little bit. It's more of a problem when he's president of the United States, but still not a grave issue. It's the fact that Republicans play politics with it. Republicans want it both ways. Watch him. And like I said, he spoke at the beginning of this thing for, 8-10 minutes or so. He tossed it to RFK, who began to speak. And it only a matter of minutes, mere seconds, Donald Trump began dozing off. Watch him here, again, unable to keep his eyes open, while his Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., gives his fucking unlistenable screed.
The Australian health system, and they revolutionized and they vastly improved health in Australia. And he said the single thing that he did that was most important to that transformation was the transparency that occurs when people control their own health records. Because it gives people the choice over their own health decisions and over their own lives, and it gives them a sense of responsibility and allows them to measure the interventions if they change their diet, if they change their exercise. It can show you how many steps you took today. It can tell you if your glucose is spiking. And all of that information will now be available to American citizens.
To be fair, I don't like to be conscious when RFK is speaking either. But I will say this, you got to be real sleepy to be able to nod off while that grating voice is going off right next to you. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is here. At some point, the media is going to have to start waking up because we're going to come to a time when Donald Trump is literally incapacitated, unable to do the job, and Republicans are going to cover for him. And if the media is in the habit of covering for Donald Trump by virtue of not asking these questions, we're going to be in a real dangerous spot. Another Woodrow Wilson situation where he's had a stroke and in a coma in his bedroom, and the first lady's actually running the country. That happened. And we're in a far more precarious situation as a nation than we were then.
And I will reveal those who have touched the children, for they will be given a voice. And it is not whom you think.
My phone is out because I want to be talking to the Jesus. Just like the prophets, not of old, the prophets of new. Kenneth Copeland and Hank Kunneman both I found these clips from Right Wing Watch, an organization that if you don't support, if you don't follow, you should be following them. They have fantastic accounts on Threads and Blue Sky, and they're still on the Nazi Twitter, something I'm not, but they're highlighting the radicals within the Christian nationalist movement, these radicals who claim to be followers and practitioners of the philosophies of Jesus Christ, yet they really are just high priests in the cult of Donald Trump. They claim to be in direct communication with the creator of the universe, the creator of everything seen and unseen. They are arrogant enough to make that claim. And they do it to cover for Donald Trump. In this first clip, this remarkable clip, let me also say that, and I've said it a million times, but usually I do these videos on the weekend, and a lot of my regular weekday viewers don't know. I was raised a pretty radical evangelical, a Christian nationalist, believing this was a Christian nation and that we should base our laws on the Bible, even though there's a prohibition against this in the First Amendment of the Constitution. Another thing the Christian nationalists act like they know a lot about and are loyal to. But that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. If you don't have an established religion, this can't be a Christian nation. If Congress can't establish a state religion, we cannot be a Christian nation. And we're not, and never have been. They were careful, our founders were careful about that. Even when Thomas Jefferson wrote the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, a lot of dum-dums who act like that we live in this Christian, Judeo-Christian nation, they don't know this, but Thomas Jefferson, the first draft, wrote like, it wasn't we hold these truths to be self-evident. It was, these are sacred and undeniable truths. And the word sacred caused consternation. They didn't like that it was using words like this in the Declaration. And it was edited down. There were many, dozens and dozens of edits that came, much to his chagrin, much to Thomas Jefferson's chagrin. So they worked very hard to extricate mentions of God, of religion, from our Constitution, even from our founding documents as far early as the Declaration of Independence. So I was raised in that faith. I was raised literally thinking that Kenneth Copeland was a mighty righteous man of God. This was the man that I revered as a child, was taught to revere. I emulated my parents who also revered him, saying that Donald Trump is being protected by the Archangel Michael, and that he was commanding the angels to strike down those who would come against his dear leader, Donald Trump. Prophet of God. Watch this.
Thank you, Michael. You are the guardian of this nation. You're the guardian. You're the guardian of this nation. Now pull those devils down that are attacking our president. Pull those devils down that have caused problems in presidents and Congress. And because of that, and because of that knowledge, at the midterms, whoa, now that we know where the attack is, and we know where the victory is, and we know it's right here in this book, praise God forevermore, and now we know who to talk to. Gabriel, you take the messages to the people. Michael, you guard that president. You watch over him. I know you were watching over him when he got killed. You say God. Well, yeah, it was God, but it's that angel. Because he's responsible for him. When he became president of the United States, Michael was responsible for him, to watch over him, take care of him. And now, glory to God. Father, we thank you Now we have the proper weapon. Now we can have a flashpoint in the heavenlies.
Not normal, certainly. Not real either. None of that's real. Do you think that the more evil you become in your soul, in your mind, in your being, in your essence, like Kenneth Copeland, that you start developing demonic characteristics in your face? Because that seems to be what's happening. As he rhetorically attacks, I guess, people like me, that I'm one of these devils that need to be pulled down from attacking our president. These devils who are causing the problems. These kind of prayers were not delivered when Joe Biden was president. These kind of prayers were certainly not delivered when Obama was president. Do you think Kenneth Copeland was out there taking up in defense of our first black president? No. It's not what white Christian nationalists do. Speaking of white Christian nationalists, Hank Kunneman, less famous in the pantheon of Christian nationalist, self-described prophets of God. Hank Kunneman he's a rising star, but not quite to the level, certainly of wealth even, since Kenneth Copeland, it's reported that he's worth nearly $1 billion. What was it Jesus said about rich people entering the kingdom of heaven? I misplaced that. I don't know what he said. It was something though. I think it was that heaven loves the rich who hoard their wealth. This guy who's getting ready to die is worth nearly $1,000 million. But that's, don't pay attention to the details. Who wants to focus on what the Bible actually says about things? Much like Hank Kunneman, who here in this, now this, if you didn't grow up in evangelical Christianity or Pentecostalism or even kind of a watered down version, Assemblies of God, the Jimmy Swaggart version, like I did, this will come as very alarming to you. This is a grown man, an adult human on a stage, putting on an act, acting as though he goes into a trance and God is communicating to him. So the words you're getting ready to hear Hank Kunneman speak, the performance you're getting ready to witness from Hank Kunneman, is him trying to convey to the audience that it is God. The voice that you hear is Hank Kunneman's, but the words are God because he became a conduit in this moment and God is speaking through him. He is delivering a prophecy from the Almighty. That's what he'd have you believe. That's what he would have this congregation believe. That is sadly what many in this congregation that he is speaking to believe. They believe they are in the presence of God, listening to the words and the thoughts and the ideas and the manifestation of Yahweh. It's nuts. It is nuts. Watch this and listen to the message. Listen to the message.
And I will reveal the true lists. And I will reveal those who have touched the children, for they will be given a voice. And it is not whom you think. And there are those children that were raised among very high political, influential rulers, governors, entertainers, who you have thought that they were the guardians and the parents of their children. But it was a lie. Perverse. Messed. But the children shall speak. and they will say, this is and was not my father. And this one is not my mother. And this one is not of the gender you think.
Now, if you're curious about all of this madness and what the hell he's talking about, he is asserting that Obama, the children of Obama, Sasha and Malia Obama, are not the actual children of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Because, as he said there at the end, and this one is not of the gender you think, is that Michelle Obama is a man. This man who represents himself as a spokesperson, as a communicator, as a conduit for Jesus Christ himself, is spreading QAnon conspiracy theories behind the pulpit, a pulpit from which he can now endorse candidates and keep his tax-exempt status. Both of these motherfuckers don't pay taxes. Their congregation pay taxes, but they are exempt because they run a charity, y'all. They're here for the greater good of our society. It is advantageous for the United States government to not make them pay taxes so they can use that money that they would pay in taxes to make the world a better place. I mean, that's the ostensible objective of tax exemption, right? While they spread lies and conspiracy theories and gin an already volatile base toward violence, toward taking matters into their own hands, toward believing wild, insane conspiracy theories, up to and including that Hank Kunneman himself speaks for God, that God speaks through him. We are in tenuous, dangerous times.
It's almost like they're a cult. You know, the 7 or 8 people that were around Joe Biden is like a cult.
The Republican Party has truly become a party of distractions, attempting to draw attention away from the fallibility of their dear leader, of the fact that it is a cultish atmosphere surrounding Donald Trump, from all of the corruption and lies and the tearing down of the government, of the mass deportation effort, of the implementation of white supremacy under the color of law in the United States, strengthening that prospect, maybe not putting it into place. It's been in place for a long time. They're just bringing it back in full force, you know, to make America great again like it was under Jim Crow. James Comer is one of the leaders of this movement of distraction. And we know about his Biden crime family investigation that secured no convictions, no even criminal cases were forwarded to the Justice Department because that wasn't its intent. Its intent was to distract the American people away from the damage of the Republican Party as an effort to hurt the Joe Biden administration while he was in office. And they're at it again. Now it's burn bags of evidence of this conspiracy theory that James Comey and John Brennan and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, you know, just the same cast of characters that apparently they run the world. Just wild conspiracy theories. And James Comer's now at it again. They're talking about subpoenaing Kamala Harris. He in this thing, I got 2 clips for you. In one of them, he's saying that Democrats, it's like they're in a cult, he says. But in this first clip, it's dark. He gets very dark, talking about he wants James Comey and John Brennan and these types to pay a price for what they've done. But the clip starts, this is how the clip starts. This is where I started the clip for you to get the full flavor here, a little context. It's Laura Ingraham asking, as an expert about what Democrats think, how Democrats feel, who Democrats like, who we're loyal to, asking James Comer like he's an expert. And then it kind of feathers into this new conspiracy theory that Kash Patel found burn bags, even though she discounts the idea before throwing it to him so he could fan the flames. It's all just a propagandist nightmare here. Watch this first clip, then we'll talk about some of these elements on the other side.
Okay, before we get to the burn bags and what Kash Patel found, you listened to your colleagues across the political aisle. I mean, just yes or no, do they want her just to go away? I mean, you have to know this. Do they want her just to go away, most of them?
Yes. They never did like her. They didn't have a relationship with her when she was vice president, so they want her to go away.
No. And Congressman, as I mentioned, FBI Director Kash Patel announced that he found burn bags of Trump-Russia hoax documents in a secret room. One of the documents officials found was the classified annex to former special counsel John Durham's final report, which includes the underlying intelligence he reviewed. So I guess it's kind of an annex section of that report. Now, Congressman, maybe it was just duplicated and you do burn things. I mean, that is not, I don't want to make it like you don't ever have burn bags. You do have burn bags in the government. But what do you make of this?
Look, I knew all along that the Democrats would try to destroy any evidence that would make them liable in this Russia hoax. We knew it was a Russia hoax. Fox knew it was a Russia hoax. You did a great job, Laura, reporting the facts about this Russia hoax. Now Kash Patel, who, by the way, is the right guy for the job, he's in there. We've got John Radcliffe in there, Tulsi Gabbard's in there. They're all trying to get the truth to the American people and hold people accountable. It's not just about the fact that we've proven they lied all along to try to hurt Donald Trump and destroy his presidential campaign. It's about the fact that they've lost confidence. We've lost confidence in the intelligence community. We have competent people in there now. We want them to pay a price. We want the Comeys and the Brennans and those guys to pay a price for what they did. It's illegal, it's wrong, and they need to be held accountable. And I think Kash Patel is on the right track, and God bless Kash Patel and John Radcliffe.
You know, whenever I'm looking for somebody who really has their finger on the pulse of the ideas and the thoughts of Democrats across the country, I always go to James Comer. I always turn to Fox News. So when they go to James Comer, I'll really know the truth about how people feel about the former candidate for president, the nominee of the Democratic Party for president of the United States. Come on. But about the burn bag thing, it is interesting that she says maybe it's just duplicated. And, you know, we do burn things in the government. That's not that. I don't want to say this, make this something that it's not. But what do you make of this? She tosses it to him, and then he just runs with the conspiracy theory, which is what he does best. He doesn't traffic in reality. He doesn't traffic in actual investigative value for anything. He traffics in distraction, conspiracy, and covering for Donald Trump, who is now embroiled in more scandal than he ever has been. And that's saying something. A man who tried to overthrow the United States government. Now he's embroiled in the fact that he's possibly, some would say probably, an abuser of children. Crimes so wretched and vile that I can't even describe them without having this video restricted here on YouTube. And then he goes into his thing about how we want these people to pay a price. We want the Comeys and the Brennans and those guys to pay a price for what they did. What did they do? Well, they didn't do the conspiracy theory of anything that you claim. But some of these people, and I don't even know the level of Comey was gone. Comey worked for Donald Trump. What they didn't do, for sure, is do anything illegal. Did Comey make mistakes? Yeah. Donald Trump is president of the United States from 2017 to 2021 because of James Comey. Comey is the linchpin in why Donald Trump got elected. But Donald Trump hates him now. This second clip is just sheer projection, which is something they are so good at. It's laughable. It's maybe the most viral element of this clip, of this appearance on Laura Ingraham, but it's certainly not the most important. The most important is what I just shared with you. But the most viral element is this clown. I'm trying to keep the mouth. Is this clown saying that Democrats, it's like Democrats are in a cult. High priest in the cult of Donald Trump calling Democrats cult members is something rich, chef's kiss, beautiful for the ages. That we should get a golden frame and hang this video clip, a screenshot of it, and I'll hang it here in the studio for all time. That's how stupid it is. Watch this.
The Biden gatekeeper, Steve Ricchetti, testified in front of your committee today, and we're told he still thinks Biden could have won in 2024, and he was capable of being president right now. So what else can you tell us?
Well, he didn't tell us a whole lot of what you wouldn't expect. It appears to me a lot of these Biden lackeys, they're still trying to claim that Joe Biden was in top physical condition when everyone in America saw it in the debate. Everyone in America saw the rapid decline over the last year of his presidency, especially the last 4 months of his presidency. It's almost like they're a cult. You know, the 7 or 8 people that were around Joe Biden is like a cult. But at the end of the day, his testimony wasn't consistent with others who have actually testified. About half the Biden people have pled the fifth. The other half have testified. And all their testimony is inconsistent. So we're going to put the pieces together and we're going to release all the transcripts and we're going to issue a report and hopefully we'll be able to determine whether or not Joe Biden had any idea who was using the auto pen and what they were using it for. Thus far, there's no evidence that emerges that he did know.
Congressman, are you going to subpoena someone like a Kamala Harris?
I think that's another great thing about Kamala Harris not running for governor. She's going to have more time to come before the House Oversight Committee and testify about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. So I think the odds of Kamala Harris getting a subpoena are very high.
Who takes this seriously? It is a question. Look, I know Fox News viewers, the aging Fox News audience, the low information, unwashed horde of MAGA voters who just gobble this stuff up, who thrive in the conspiracy theories and lies that are trafficked on Fox News. They love it. But do they really believe it? Do they really believe we Democrats are in a cult? While their bedrooms are festooned, their cars are wrapped in Donald Trump's face. They fly the Trump flags everywhere. They wear Trump face t-shirts. They Photoshop his face onto Rambo's body. But we're in a cult. I don't even have a political bumper sticker on my car, but I'm in a cult. People who defend the credibly accused child abuser Donald Trump, the adjudicated sexual assaulter of women, the man who has defrauded Americans in his fake university, the man who can't even operate a charity in the state of New York because he defrauded cancer patients. That's the guy they're defending. But we're in a cult. The guy who inflicted violence against the city of Washington, D.C., the nation, in his attempt to stay in office, attempting to overthrow the United States government by way of overturning a free and fair, settled American election. We are in a cult, but they love that guy. Make it make sense. Anyway, what do you think? I would appreciate your feedback here. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com.
Burn bags of Russiagate materials, and we'd love to get your thoughts on that.
He said what?
Burn bags of Russiagate materials.
I don't know
FBI
that.
supposedly found.
I don't know that. I don't know what you mean by that statement. Say it.
We are witnessing rapid decline, cognitive decline and otherwise, from Donald Trump that is beginning to inhibit his ability to run the country. Not like he was running it well before, but think of this when it's people who are in charge, because Donald Trump's not really running the country. He got his nursemaid, Will Scharf, out there who has to explain to him and everybody else all the things that he signs. We're in a tight spot. We are in a dangerous spot when the people at the Heritage Foundation and Russell Vogt and the rest of these dipshits will be the ones running the country from behind the scenes while Donald Trump is playing with blocks in the residence in the White House. While he's just sat up in bed watching TV all day while the devils in the administration like Stephen Miller actually run the country. When there's no mark of curiosity from the mainstream media about what's taking place, we got a problem. And yesterday, Donald Trump was asked a question, and an early onset sign of dementia, a leading cause of dementia is hearing loss. This is fact. This is science. This is medical. It's true. And Donald Trump, for a long time, and it is speeding up, it is accelerating right now, his inability to hear. Him hearing the wrong thing when it was clearly, plainly enunciated. And a reporter asks him about these burn bags that Kash Patel claims he found in some random room. The conspiracy theory itself is just so maddeningly simple and stupid that there's a secret room at the FBI that apparently is so secret that the people forgot to burn the stuff that was in the bag. It's so ridiculous. And it's on fire right now. This is the thing that's running 24/7 on Fox News. So when the question gets asked and he acts like he doesn't, what do you say it? Say it. What do you, I don't, burn what? Oh, burn bags. I thought you were talking about somebody named Burn Bag. While the drunkard from Wisconsin behind him, Van Dwizzlestick or whatever his name is, the former Navy SEAL, the guy who accosts children in the rotunda of the United States Capitol who are on break from being a page in the Senate. Van Orden, that's his name. Just a total dipshit. He's behind him, chuckle. Not even acknowledging the fact that we have an addled memory assistant nursing home patient as a president of the United States now. All a problem. His answer's a problem. The fact that he can't hear the question's a problem. The reaction from the crowd is a problem. We are in danger, imminent danger as a nation. And by extension, so is the world. Watch this alarming moment from yesterday.
And one of the highest, 100 points, 150 points or percentages. So India was one of the highest in the world. They had won 175%, and higher than that. You know, there's another higher one is Canada. They've been charging our farmers 200%, 300%, 400% for years, and nobody did anything about it. But India is one of the highest, so we're going to see. We're negotiating with India right now.
President, Kash Patel reportedly found burn bags of Russiagate materials, and we'd love to get your thoughts on that.
He said what?
Burn bags of Russiagate materials
I
that
don't
the
know
FBI
that.
supposedly found.
I don't know that. I don't know what you mean by that statement. Say
bags full of Russiagate
a
documents.
burn bag. I thought you said appointed a man named Burn Bag. Go ahead. You got to speak up.
Thousands of documents in these bags, supposedly burn bags at the FBI in the secret room.
Well, I want everything to be shown. You know, as long as it's fair and reasonable, I think it will be shown and it should be shown. And I think he feels that way, and I think Pam feels that way. But it's got to be, it's got to be stuff that really doesn't hurt people unfairly, because you have so many people involved.
So I tacked on what was at the beginning for a reason, and I left on what was at the end for a reason to sandwich in just how dangerous a situation we're in. This is a guy, Donald Trump, is just rambling off numbers as though it makes him credible or communicates at all that he has any understanding of what's going on. 100, 150, 175, higher than that. And Canada, 200, 300, 400%. What? It's a number. Know the number and say the number. Don't give us a range of 100, 150, 175, 200, 300, 400. Go into auctioneer mode. The reason he does it is because he doesn't know the numbers. He's just making things up as he goes along. And idiots, dum-dums, like Derek Van Orden in the background there, he gobbles it up because he's in the cult. Because Donald Trump is a dumb person's version of what a smart person is. A poor person's version of how a rich person lives and what their style is, with his gaudy, ostentatious, weird gold flake everywhere in the Oval Office now. Just weird. Not knowing what the question was. I thought you meant burn bag person. He appointed a named burn bag. What? And then, yeah, I want all of this released, but I don't want people hurt who were involved. He's talking about himself. He doesn't want anything released because people who were involved might get hurt. You were involved. You were best friend with a notorious sex trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein. You called him a terrific guy and that he loved the women and sometimes on the younger side. You said this. And Republicans are okay with it. The Family Values Party is okay with it. They love it, in fact. He can't hear. He can't think. He can't speak. He can't reason. He can't govern. Make it make sense.
I don't know how many people in the audience, how many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't.
There was a debate in a Senate committee yesterday about the prohibition of members of Congress to trade stocks. Even among Republicans, this is a controversial idea. Josh Hawley seems to be on the right side of this. It's always kind of hard to tell when you have a liar, hypocrite, traitor like Josh Hawley, who acted like he was all about saving Medicaid and then voted for the very legislation that would destroy it. He's terrible. One of the worst. So this didn't get him out of any of that. There was an argument between him and James Langford yesterday that went on. It was pretty interesting. You could find those clips online. 9-10 minute kind of an argument between them where one of them's like, this seems like it's getting personal, James Langford said. But there was another moment that I want to talk about. It's Rick Scott, who is going to be he's kind of the poster boy for why this is necessary for members of Congress to not be able to trade stock, because they have information you don't have. They have information I don't have. And they're able to make trades before things that they vote for go into effect, impacting the price of whatever stock they're buying, whether it be to sell before the stock goes down or buy before it rises. We're seeing this. We've seen this with Donald Trump's tariff talks, where there's a giant sell-off in the market just before Donald Trump announces what he's going to do, indicating these people had forehand knowledge, insider trading. This has been a conflict issue for decades and decades and decades, and it needs to be dealt with. No member of Congress should be able to trade stocks. No. And Rick Scott freaked out about this, polls the audience as though they're members of the United States Senate. Oh, does anybody want to be poor? I don't. Does anybody want to be poor, he says. The man who, according to Quiver Quantitative, is worth $553.9 million. A man who was the CEO of a company, he quit right when the investigation started, ended up paying over $1 billion in fines, guilty of many felonies for defrauding Medicaid. This is what they say. Quiver Quantitative estimates that Rick Scott is worth $553.9 million as of July 30th, 2025. That was yesterday. This is the second highest net worth in Congress per our live estimates. Scott has approximately $51.5 million invested in publicly traded assets, which Quiver is able to track live. And then there's a link here, and you can go find this. But here is Rick Scott polling the audience as though that's the point of the legislation, that if he is unable to trade, he will be poor. Apparently, he'll lose his $555 million and be poor if he's unable to do insider trading, unlike the rest of us who would go to jail for that crime. Watch this whine fest from this whiner, Rick Scott.
I own operating businesses. But somehow it's suspect because I made money. I don't know how many people in the audience, how many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't. Right? So this idea that we're going to attack people because they make money is wrong. Is absolutely wrong. We should cherish all of our different backgrounds. Every one of us has a different background. I've got a business background. But what I was just accused of is making money, and somehow I can't be fair and do things the right way. So I think it's disgusting what is going on here. So, but I agree with, I completely agree with you. We've got to stop people from trading stocks. But this is way different. This is an attack against the president, attack against the vice president. That's what this is. So I think it's wrong.
Attack against the president, attack against the vice president. This deals with members of Congress buying stock. Is Donald Trump a member of the House of Representatives or a senator and nobody knew? This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Listen, it would be great if the Senate was setting its attention to all of the conflicts of interest and the violations of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution of the United States that prohibit Donald Trump from profiting from the presidency in some ways, not always. The ethics constraints on the executive branch, the president and vice president, president especially, are non-existent. Non-existent. This is an attempt to enlist the support of Donald Trump for this position. For him to say that I'm being attacked because I make money. We're attacking people because they make money. No, you lying dipshit. Listen, Ichabod Crane, listen. What this does is an attempt to get you not to be able to profit off insider information, to make trades based on conflicts of interest, information you have that the general public does not have. And you're incredulous about it. You are just beside yourself with anger as though you're being attacked, as though you will be made poor, when you're worth closer to $1 billion than you are poor. The problem here lies in the fact that this has worked for Republicans for so long, that they have engaged in this class warfare thing where they've enlisted the support of people who will never be anywhere near millionaires, let alone billionaires, and that people support them. They support tax cuts for the wildly wealthy in this country because I guess in their brains, well, when I'm rich, I'll also not want to pay taxes, even though they'll never be rich. I have people I went to high school with who constantly post about, the tax cuts, they're not going to help you. You're not going to benefit from this the big, beautiful bill that was just signed. You make $50,000 a year. You're not going to be helped by it. If you make $100,000 a year, you're not going to be helped by what was just passed. If you make $200,000 a year, you're not going to be helped. You've got to be in an exceedingly high tax bracket, the top 1%. And unless you are, it's time for a little class solidarity, folks. Support the rest of us. Support the people who are in the norm of the American populace. Not the Elon Musks of the world, not the Donald Trumps of the world, not the Rick Scotts of the world. Not the people who defraud Medicaid and have guilty sentences. Their company, of course, in America, we don't punish people. We hold corporations accountable, quote unquote. Rick Scott was able to get himself out, got a sweetheart deal, a massive payout in stocks. Gross. When the facts don't line up with what reality is and what the truth is, what do? You create a new narrative. You alter people's perception of reality to make them think you are some kind of a foreign policy genius, economics genius. Transparency is important. One of the reasons that it's dangerous to have a lack of transparency in our government related to the presidency and a host of other governmental aspects is because we want to be able to trust what is true. We want to be able to verify that which is said, that it's true. And Donald Trump's cognition and his lack of ability to tell the truth, or his refusal to tell the truth, all of these things kind of come into the realm of transparency. And this story, this little write-up from Daniel Dale from CNN really highlights why. And there's a number of different aspects to it. And it becomes complex. So complex sometimes that it becomes not so sexy. It's not as easy as him falling asleep on the job or tripping up the stairs or fumbling his words or all of the scandals that he currently finds himself related to the credible accusations of him harming children, abusing children, systematically practicing trafficking and all of these other things that he's being accused of. But when he says things that are categorically, verifiably false, it makes you wonder, is it because he thinks it's actually true? Is it the fact that he's lied about things for so long that he now believes them to be true? Or is it just sheer making shit up? All of these are questions. And without transparency, it creates more obstacles to the truth, which is something we should all seek. Now, here's the headline of this write-up from Daniel Dale, Donald Trump's long history of fake history. And they give several examples at the bottom of this article of the claims that Donald Trump has made recently and in the distant past that are false. And then they go through each one of these things with receipts. And I'm not going to provide all of the receipts, but with dates, with times, with links, with evidence that they are untrue and of the claim that he made. So it's not just fake news. Oh, it's fake news. It starts with him, Daniel Dale, describing Donald Trump telling the story about making a correct prediction about Brexit. And Donald Trump said that remember when I was in Scotland, I was in the UK days before the Brexit vote, and I predicted this would happen. You all remember this, right? You remember it. This is the way it went down. None of it's true. The prediction part's not true. Him being in the UK before the election, the Brexit vote, that's not true. All of it is untrue. And they go through this in a systematic, detailed way, in a way that really only Daniel Dale does. Daniel Dale from CNN. So look, here's the other element to this is, yeah, does CNN suck? Are they terrible? Generally, largely, as an umbrella, yeah, they're terrible. However, there are individuals who work for that organization who do good work. Audie Cornish does great work. Laura Coates does great work. Manu Raju does great work. There's a few others. They have unfortunately got rid of people who also did good work. Jim Acosta, right? Well, Daniel Dale is another one who does solid work. Again, the headline, Donald Trump's long history of fake history. And again, it picks up I'm going to read from right after they talk about Donald Trump lying about the Brexit vote. Trump's imaginary story about these events 9 years ago might be considered trivial compared to his lies about pressing topics like inflation and the war in Ukraine, but it's part of a pattern, a long line of similarly fabricated tales from the president about his own history and world history. And the pattern has a purpose. Trump's stories serve to exaggerate his foresight and a knowledge of domestic and foreign affairs, embellish his biography and record in office, and diminish his political opponents. Because when reality's not on your side, what do? When the facts don't line up with what reality is and what the truth is, what do? You create a new narrative. You alter people's perception of reality to make them think you are some kind of a foreign policy genius, economics genius, domestic policy genius, when he is nothing of the sort. He's not even a genius about the thing that he's famous for, which is finances, which is business. Donald Trump bankrupting multiple businesses, bankrupting a fucking casino. For the love of God. Donald Trump bankrupted a surefire moneymaker. If Donald Trump had a goose that laid golden eggs out of its ass, Donald Trump would kill it. He would ruin it. The stories tend to be colorful, even though they're fake. Trump's historical fiction is sprinkled with vivid details and make-believe quotes. All the better to make it seem authentic and get it to stick in the minds of voters. A White House official responding to CNN's questions on condition of anonymity noted that Trump correctly predicted Brexit and then said he was in Scotland before the vote. The official didn't acknowledge that, contrary to what Trump claimed Monday and has claimed for years, he wasn't there. He was not there the day before the Brexit vote and didn't make a prediction that day. Here is a fact check of 8 other examples of false Trump stories about the past from the last 2 months alone. From just the most recent 2 months, Donald Trump has done this thing where he says something happened when it clearly didn't. It is easily fact checked that it didn't. 1, his false claim that he issued a don't go in warning against the 2003 invasion of Iraq. His false story about a supposed conversation with his late uncle about the Unabomber. His false claim that he was the person who deployed the National Guard during the civil unrest in Minneapolis in 2020. His false claim that he signed a law in 2020 to impose automatic 10-year prison sentences on people who damage monuments. His false claim that he was being sarcastic when he repeatedly promised to end Russia's war on Ukraine within 24 hours of returning to office. His false claim that the European Union was formed to take advantage of the United States. His false claim that tariffs were imposed merely after the Great Depression, not during it. And his false claim that South Korea convinced former President Joe Biden to allow it to stop making any payments to share the cost of the U.S. military presence there. That last one, actually, is not just a false claim. It's the opposite of what is true. It's beyond just false. Now, I'm going to link to this story in the description of this video. I would highly advise you to go through and read, because this video would be 45 minutes long in and of itself if I was to cover all of the details showing how Donald Trump is wrong and fabricating history. The question here, the overarching question that I want to leave with you, and I want to have a conversation in the comments about, you can leave me voicemails and emails about, is why? How? What? All of the, so is this a metric of Donald Trump convincing himself that his lies are true? He repeats them over and over. It's kind of along the lines of Donald Trump getting the Spanish flu. He just says the wrong year constantly. Donald Trump says the wrong thing over and over and over and over and over. Does he convince himself? Is it an effort to convince the audience? Or is it all of this? Is it a combination of I don't know. But it's definitely dangerous to have someone who is so detached from the reality that the rest of us live in that they cannot think correctly, that their view of the world is altered. He's attempting to alter the view of his supporters and their view of the world. And largely, he has done it. He wants to go and have one of his martyrdom tours in the city square, and they're like, no. You know who Sean Fucht is? Sean Fucht. He's the guy with the lady locks. I mean, if we're talking in the parlance of Republicans, in the parlance of modern conservatives who talk about masculinity and traditional masculinity, he's a guy with lady hair, right? He's a guy who is a self-styled martyr. He wants to be a victim. He wants everybody who are Christians to share in his martyrdom. Oh, we're being oppressed. Even though we're the vast majority of the population in the country, even though we hold the majority in government, these white Christian nationalists are just whining children. They are crybabies. That if they are not, if their foot is not on your neck, they act like yours is on theirs. He's a guy who traffics in circles, who want to surround Donald Trump, who want to do their best to reach out and touch the hem of his garment. Sometimes literally, here's a picture of him at the White House reaching out, ooh, just enough to get his hand on Donald Trump. Nice. Here he is with Eric Metaxas, sharing space with their dear leader, trying to structurally alter the culture of our country. He's a musician too. It's amazing how far we've fallen from the days of Woody Guthrie, who had written on his guitar, "This machine kills fascists," to being an implemented tool for fascism, trying to usher in an era of fascism into the United States. This is who Sean Fuchs is. And largely, we don't deal with these people correctly. We allow them to run roughshod over the protections of others while luxuriating under a blanket of protections from the Constitution of the United States. And he's trying to export this style, this flavor of fascism, Christo-fascism, white Christian nationalism into Canada. And largely, Canada, with all of their politeness, is telling him to f*** straight off. Here's an article from the CBC. Winnipeg denies permit for controversial U.S. Christian musicians concert in city's Central Park. Sean Fuchs' August 20th concert, part of Canada-U.S. tour, not operationally feasible, the city says. He wants to go and have one of his martyrdom tours in the city square, and they're like, no, it's a public safety hazard. You're not going to bring this here. I wish they were more forceful. They are, and maybe it's a stereotype, but I know a lot of Canadians, and they're good and decent people. They need to deal with them, I think, with a little bit more aggression, but I'll take what I can get. This is how the article goes. The city of Winnipeg says it has denied a parks booking permit for a concert planned by a U.S. Christian musician because of, quote, operational challenges, after some community members worried that the event might spur discriminatory rhetoric. You see, in some places, your free speech does not extend toward abusing others, toward questioning whether people have the right to exist in the case of LGBTQ people. Canada has a fundamental respect for the rights of traditionally marginalized and oppressed people. As a government, as a function of even the Conservative Party in Canada, I would contend that if they had their way, if Pierre Poilievre, the disgraced former, maybe he's still the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, even though he lost his seat. If he had his way, wanting to cuddle up to the likes of Tucker Carlson, they would oppress gay people and minorities in their country, the Conservative Party. The people of Canada wouldn't stand for it, though, so they've moderated their opinions. Sean Fuke has advertised a concert in Winnipeg Central Park on August 20th as part of a U.S.-Canada tour he has described as the country's hour of awakening and an opportunity to worship Jesus. It's an opportunity. Who needs, scriptures from the Bible who talk about wherever you are, if any two people gather together touching any one thing, there is the Lord. No. You need to have a concert. You can't just worship him on your own. Crown agencies and cities overseeing 6 public venues in Eastern Canada, Quebec, and Ontario have recently denied or revoked permits granted to Fuke to host events that were part of his tour, all citing public safety concerns among their reasoning. Fuke has been affiliated with the MAGA movement and spoken publicly on his platforms against the 2S LGBTQ plus community, as well as against abortion rights. He was also a strong advocate against the closure of places of worship during the COVID-19 pandemic. In an emailed statement on Tuesday, a spokesperson said the city of Winnipeg denied the permit request by Burn 24/7, a worship group founded by Fuke for the use of Central Park on Elise Avenue. Quote, after careful analysis, we've determined it is not operationally feasible to allow the event at Central Park. As this is not a ticketed event, forecasting attendance is a challenge. That in turn prevents additional operational challenges, the statement said. The spokesperson said on summer days, the small park is highly utilized by community members, and many rely on it as a space to gather and play. It's also often used by daycares and day camps, and an influx of more than 2,000 people the applicant expects would detract from the service the park provides to area residents. Quote, additionally, emergency services have raised concerns that foot traffic, vehicle volumes, and parking utilization could prevent emergency crews from reaching a number of supportive housing residences and personal care homes in the area that have frequent calls for service, the statement said. More appropriately, they should have said, we don't want fucking fascism from the United States infiltrating, infecting Canada. That seems to me to have been a better approach, a more Jesse Dollemore approach, I guess, a more bombastic approach, but a more honest one. Sean Fuke does not have a right. Listen, if Canadians are being held without due process in ICE detention facilities, people who have permanent residency cards, green cards here in the United States, why should Canada afford Sean Fuke, the fascist, his ability to spread fascism and hatred and suspicion in their country? Tit for tat, right? What's good for the goose and all. Anyway, I invite you to this conversation. If you're Canadian, if you're from Winnipeg, Manitoba, I believe it is, I would love your opinion here. Do you agree with your government? Do you agree with the city of Winnipeg? You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Further, I would ask if you want to help support this work, if you want to help me grow this channel and reach the millions of people that I do every single month, help me produce these videos, you can click the join button below, become a channel member for $2 a month, or you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I love and appreciate you very much. Thank you for your concern, for your fellow citizens, for your fellow humans, trying to make the world a better place. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.